What's up, everybody? So, I want to go over something, and I think it deserves its own video of itself. This whole topic deserves its whole video because if I break it down into like an AR part series, which I still want to do, I just am going through the process on how I want to do it because I want to do it in a very educational way. But we could start with barrels. Barrels is a pretty seamless topic to cover. And although you may think a barrel is a barrel, there's a lot that goes into it. And there's a lot to determine the price, the accuracy, and so on and so forth. So we'll just cover the basics real quick. So we'll use Criterion to start because Criterion, although looks expensive, it's actually like mid range. It's not cold hammer forged. It's a very good barrel. So we'll start there. So let's just start with barrels. Obviously, we're going to be talking about 16-inch, 14 and a half, 13.9. I mean, we could talk about anything we want at the end of the day, but most common barrel lengths in New York, 13.9, 14.5, 16, 18, 20, although we don't see any muskets anymore. I think the majority of us own 16-inch guns, 14 and a half, 13.9. Anybody watching it. So I'm just going to go over the basics of it. So barrels are going to be broken down into the style of barrel that they are. So you can get like an SPR barrel, which is essentially like a heavy H bar barrel. We'll get government barrel, which DD is infamous for. We'll go over the pros and cons of all them, and then we get pencil barrels, which is they're a lot thinner. They're meant to reduce weight. And then we have Geisley barrels, which Geisley and Criterion. So Geisley barrels are not government profile barrels. They use their own profile, and so does Criterion. Although Criterion does have their own H bar, and most H bars use a very similar profile. The next step would be coating, whether they're made from stainless steel, uh, I think cold hammer forged, and I think there's another style. Anyways, we'll cover that when I get there. And then twist rate, which is essentially how many rotations the bullet makes how many rotations per inch the bullet makes. How many so like a 1 in 8, the bullet's going to rotate once every 8 inches. 1 in 7 is every 7 inches, it rotates once. And then at 1 in 9, it rotates once every 9 inches. And 1 in 7 is made. If you have a 1 in 7 twist barrel, you should not really be pushing 55 grain out of it. At the minimum, you should be pushing 62. 1 in 62 to 90, you could push out of a 1 in 7. Most common round is probably 69 to 77 grain out of a 1 in 7. Super duper high. 1 in 8, you could get away with 55 grain. It's not meant for 55 grain. It's actually meant to stabilize the majority of lighter bullets, just as effective as heavier bullets. So 62 grain. 1 in 9 twist is the oddball. That is actually meant to stabilize 55 grain, and it's not really meant to stabilize 77 grain. I would say the heaviest you could possibly go with 1 in 9. I actually haven't even looked at ballistics on this, but I'm going to go off and say probably a 69 grain bullet is probably the heaviest you could probably stabilize out of a 1 in 9. I don't recommend 1 in 9, guys. 1 in 9 is like the oddball. It's literally just meant for 55 grain. And because 55 grain is so susceptible to wind at longer ranges, obviously, if you're shooting 100, 200 yards and you built a gun just for that, 1 in 9 is fine. But if you want to shoot further than that, I really don't recommend it. Now, I know some of you are going to comment and say, hey, listen, I push 55 grain VMAX or some varmint round or some high precision handmade 55 grain. Yeah, sure, that works. But there's only so far that you could push a 55 grain before it's susceptible to wind. You're not going to push a 55 grain out to 750 yards and still maintain accuracy. It's going to be really affected by wind. On a no wind day, sure. I mean, you're definitely going to, I would say the bullet's going to be understabilized or actually even overstabilized. And it's going to deviate a lot at further ranges. Now, let's get back into barrels. So a lot of you guys are very familiar with Ballistic Advantage. It's like the go-to, and there's a reason why they cost this much. And as somebody that's had a Ballistic Advantage, a Roscoe, um, they're okay. And I get that they work, and I get that they shoot bullets, and they're so-called accurate. And I understand that Ballistic Advantage says that their guns shoot MOA, but I will tell you that when they do QCs, that they don't QC every barrel for MOA accuracy standards. It's like 1 in every 20, and then or whatever's in that batch, I should say, it gets QC'd to make sure they're MOA. In my experience, these barrels are not MOA, and I've tried a variety of bullets out of them, and I've tried numerous amount of barrels. I've had a 300 blackout barrel from them. I've had a stainless steel barrel from them. I've had a regular 14.5 barrel from them, and I've had a variety of different ammos put to them, and I can assure you that these do not hold substandards for quite a while. Yet the first 100 rounds you may put through it may hold accurate MOA, but the more rounds you're going to put through it, the wider and wider that group's going to get, and it's not going to last 10,000, 15,000, 20,000, 25,000 rounds. And there's a reason why barrels are cold hammer forged, Geissele's. And then there's a reason why we have chrome line barrels. Chrome line, there is a myth, and this was true at one point where cold hammer forged chrome line barrels weren't as accurate as standard stainless steel rifled barrels, which we could see here. And I will show you the barrel that's in my gun. Second. So this is my barrel, just stainless right here. And as you can see, there's no picture. And I also did own a Daniel Defense barrel. Now, I understand that you guys don't want to spend this money, and I get it, it's very expensive. But there's a reason why this is expensive. These barrels are these cheaper barrels. I wouldn't say Ballistic Advantage. Ballistic Advantage has some pretty good QC. I've seen some crap. I've seen some crap from DD. I've seen some crap from Geissele. Geissele, when they first came out, their barrel line was notorious for tight chambers, and I'm assuming they fixed that because I've never had an issue with it going forward after that. But you're paying for the quality of the barrel. Now, notoriously, cheap barrels, your bullets will get chewed up on this feed rim. And you say, why does that matter? Well, it matters because when you're trying to make a extremely accurate weapon over a course of time, so like this is going to hold way more accuracy over a long period of time. One, because it's an H bar, so it's more resistant to heat than, let's say, a Hansen pencil barrel or their Performance Series barrels, or even any of their barrels for that matter, simply because of the fact of the barrel profile. And this has way more QC on it. The feed ramps are polished. I've actually never had an issue with a Criterion barrel, to be quite frank. And I understand that they're $329, and I'm not telling you go buy a Criterion. And I'm also not telling you go buy a Geissele barrel, and I'm not telling you go buy a DD barrel. But if some of you guys that want some high quality builds and want some really nice stuff, I actually also had a Zev barrels, and let me show you how much that cost. And I will tell you is crap because I thought they were good. And Zev doesn't make these barrels. I owned this, and it might come off as like, wow, that's beautiful, and yeah, it is beautiful. It's fluted and everything. This would fling rounds, and it would group 4, 5, 6 rounds and then fling a 7th. It would fling always 1 round, and I could never figure out why. And I've had 2 of them, and they all did the same thing, and I just didn't understand. And this is not, you got to understand that I've built a numerous amount of ARs in my life, approaching 50. So I have experience and I have time with this platform, and I'm not saying that's a lot, but it's a lot more than the normal person for me to, gather this intel and information and knowledge I've gained over the period of time. So when you guys are buying barrels, please have an idea of what you want to do with that gun. If you want a range toy and you want something to have fun with at the range, be my guest. Buy whatever cheap barrel you want. There's a ton of companies out there that produce standardized barrels, Roscoe, Ballistic Advantage, Bear Creek, whatever you name it. These cheap barrels under $150, go for it. But My guys that want to build quality fighting rifles that will last the lifetime of your gun, you want a Cold Hammer Forge barrel. And those of you guys that want precision long range guns, you want to compete in a Geisley gas gun, you want a nice accurate gas gun, Geisley DD barrels as well. Criterion is even better for long range. I think I find that they tend to hold a little bit of accuracy, but we're talking about minuscules here. So I'll give you some benefits between both of these companies. So Geisley uses their own profile, and this is very important. So as you're shooting over time, the barrel heats up. And depending on where the barrel weight is, like on a government profile, it could heat up and expand in different areas at different intervals. So if you could see this, you could see that the taper is here and then it expands. Now, this starts to heat up. It's going to sag at some point. It's definitely going to sag. And it's going to heat up pretty quickly because it's very thin. This is not going to heat up as fast because it's thicker. Whereas like when you actually go to a nice long range setup, this is called a H-bar, their SPR cut. And those of you that don't understand gas block sizes, most AR-15 barrels come with a 750 gas block. Most of them are cut for 750 gas block. 99% of your barrels are going to be cut with a 750 gas block. Now, is there a smaller one? Yeah, there's 625. And there's also bigger ones where they go to, I think it's 816. No, that's a 750. Order completes. This is a 816. No, that's also a 750. Where is Geisley's 8 big gas block? Anyways, I just seen it before, but anyways, my guys that want to get into long range, you want a long range, super accurate gun. You want to not spend $1 bajillion, or you want like a fighting rifle. DD 16-inch, awesome, super duper accurate, sub MOA with 77 grain ammo, 69 grain ammo. I find DD barrels to be slightly more accurate, but you have to deal with the government profiles. And I as much as I love DD, I hate the government profile. It's very dated. There's really no benefit of it. As you can see, that they make a heavy barrel, SPR, Mark 12. And Geisley barrels are not, they're also Cold Hammer Forge, but they're not government profile. They're their own profile. And I'm pretty sure some of their uppers are actually way different. They have like phase array. They call it phase array, where bleeds gas. Oh, here it is. 812 is their H-bar heavy journal. And you could see when we go to gas port. So that's another thing. We'll get into that in a second. But I think they use something called phase array or something like that. Might not say it on here, but I know they use not a standard. They don't use like a standard single hole or something like that. I don't know. I don't know if it's like very gimmicky. I'm not too sure, but I'm assuming if it works, it works. And hey, go for it. I'm definitely interested in buying one of these heavy H-bar uppers. If anybody actually knows who this is, Geisley currently holds the most rounds fired in full auto through Golden Web's test, and I'm pretty sure this reached almost 2,000 rounds before it blew up. No, like nonstop mag after mag dumping, 2,000 rounds. Nothing came even close to this. And then as I was saying, I'll get back to gas port sizes. So gas port size is actually really, really important, and it's more important than people believe. And I have a spreadsheet, I think, with all the gas port size, because this gas tube, one of the best companies out there. So if you guys ever noticed that when you buy your guns and they're tuned and they're spitting brass out to the 1, 2 o'clock, that is because the gas port is way too big. And I understand there are ways to combat a big gas porthole, and they're doing it for reliability so you guys could shoot a wide variety of ammos, but you really shouldn't be buying barrels that have massive gas ports, because the more gas that you're putting through your system, the more wear and tear you're putting on your system, the more wear and tear you're putting on your bolt, the more wear and tear you're putting on the recoil spring, the buffer spring, the more wear and tear you're putting on the gun itself. And in order to, usually the common way is to just compound that or fix the issue with a heavier buffer spring. And that may work, or a heavier buffer. That may work, but that is not how you fix that problem. That's a band-aid fix. The real way to fix this issue is to buy one of these BRT Easy gas tubes, which I had. And I had that on my DD because DD combat gases their barrels because they are government profile. So they're made for the government, or per se, and the government needs to have reliable guns that push through dirt, debris, and a wide variety of ammos, like most of us. I don't know how often you guys clean your guns. Now, Geisley, on the other hand, uses a very specific size on their barrels. It's only gassed to 556. You can't put 223 through your Geisley and expect it to work. It may work, it may not. In my case, in the one Geisley barrel that I have, 223 did not work. If you have powerful 223 like Wolf, it may work, but I don't recommend putting Wolf through a Cold Hammer Forge barrel, or any high quality barrel for that. And I could show you, and as you may see, we go down here, we go to specifications, and Geisley's cool. They list their gas port size, 0.70. Okay. DD does not list their gas port size, but I know it offhand. I know what their 12.5-inch Geisley, what their gas port size is. It's 0.073. It is extremely overgassed. So overgassed that when I was shooting this, I was literally chewing up my deflector because the brass was being pulled out of my chamber at extreme speeds. And yes, that is a thing. We can get into that in a different video. BCG tuning and slowing and speeding up the BCG, and a lot of you don't really understand why that's important, but it aids in extraction, and you don't want that thing coming loose as the round is going off and moving and whatnot. But these cheap barrels all have massive gas portholes. And it's not until you go to like high quality barrels that you get proper porthole, gas portholes. And as you can see, Geisley uses an 065 on their 12.5, and Daniel Defense, because I had one, uses 073, and you can get tools to figure out what size you have. But then you go to BRT, come here, choose your gas. You could pick what you want to do, mix, suppressed, dedicated, normal, unsuppressed. And you can even build your own custom gas tube. So what I did is I took the time to really understand and educate myself on gas portholes and what size is right for what. So I ultimately had a BRT on my 12.5, and I went with a 067, which is still larger than the 065. Because this is tuned to this BCG, and you could buy a Geisley, lower, and it's tuned to their gun. Although I'm pretty sure that their uppers use slightly different sizes. Or no, I'm sorry, their barrels slightly different sizes because they don't know what it's going in, and it's not tuned. Geisley 12.5, and you can see that I'm pretty sure it's going to be different. Yeah, 070. So we go from an 070 on just their barrel, which is pretty big. It's not DD big, down to an 065 on their full upper. And now you ask, why is that? Because they don't know what you're putting in this. They don't know what it's going to be attached to. They don't know the BCG. They don't know the springs. They don't know nothing. So they have to guess it for reliability, to whereas when you go their complete upper receiver groups and you go to specifications, you go down 065. And then you ask, why is this smaller? Because it's tuned. Because it has their proprietary, well, it's not proprietary. It's just a very good BCG. It's tuned with their BCG, and that's it. And I will say that each barrel length is going to have its own size gas port. And as you can see, we'll go here, we'll go down, we'll go to and URGIs also have their different size gas port as well. Those are combat gas. We'll go to a 14.5, and you could see that this hole is going to be bigger. The longer the barrel, the bigger the hole, because the longer the barrel, the more complete burn you're going to have. So the more gas you need to cycle the bolt. And those of you that don't understand that, think of it this way. On these little short barrel guys, you're not getting complete burn of the bullet or the powder. So you need to cycle more of that gas into the gas tube to be pushed into the BCG. Or less, I'm sorry. You need less because there's so much gas, you need to make this hole smaller. On a longer barrel, you need more. You need to make that hole bigger because you're burning, having a complete burn. And so another thing that you guys need to realize is there's different length gas tubes. There is carbine length. So you could see that there's pistol, there is carbine, there's mid-length, there's intermediate, and there's rifle. And they're all different. So like usually, and then you have like the guys that do like mid-length 12.5s, and all those are not super common. They are out there. I think actually BRT makes a mid-length 12.5. I know Roscoe makes a patrol intermediate. I think they do make an intermediate gas length on one of their barrels right here, which is like the in-between carbine and mid-length, because you have different dwell times and whatnot, and that's for all technical stuff. Dwell time is the time from, so if we look at a gas, so the dwell time is from when the bullet is in between entering the barrel and this hole and the porthole, the gas porthole in the barrel. And that has a lot to do with reliability, and you want more dwell time. You don't want less dwell time. There's a reason why we're seeing more guns come in mid-length and not carbine length, because carbine length just chews up BCGs, and although it is super reliable for dirty guns, it's really not the best for recoil, and it's really just not the best in general, but it does work. But usually what you'll see, and these are the commonalities, is rifle gas length is for 18 and 20 inch or 18 plus. Mid-length is in reality about 13.7 to 16. You could have an 18-inch mid-length, but that's not super common. Carbine is 10.3 to 14.5, and I understand that 14.5 is covered in mid-length, but there are BD sells a carbine length 14-inch, even a 16-inch as well. 14.5 carbine and 16-inch carbine. Carbine is like I said, 10.3, 10.5, 11.5, 12.5, all the way up to 16. You don't really want a carbine 14.5 or a carbine 16. You really want to avoid that. But then there's pistol length. Pistol length is 300 blackout. So 300 blackout is standard 300 blackout for, I think, the majority of barrel length. So 5.5, 6.5, 7.5, 8.5, 9.5, 10.5, 300 blackout is all pistol length. And then there's intermediate. And intermediate is, I think there's an 11.5 intermediate, and I'm pretty sure there's a 12.5 intermediate. And, Wilson Combat also makes an intermediate, although this doesn't fit it. It says does not fit. Even Knights Armament Company also has an intermediate gas block. And you're going to see more of this because you get more dwell time with an intermediate 12.5 instead of a mid-length 12.5. 12.5 is like, I will say 12.5 is the best barrel length. Notorious. It's the GOAT barrel length. It's master race. It has 14.5 inch velocity, 14.5 velocities out of a shorter gun. It's lighter, more maneuverable. And then I don't recommend 10.3, 10.5s, but if you want a short barrel, the shortest you should really go with 556 is 11.5. 11.5 is awesome because it has 40% more dwell time than 10.3 and 10.5. Even more so, I think it's 40% over 10.5, and I think it's 3% over 10.3, which is awesome. So you get awesome reliability out of a short gun, and it's not that much longer. And that's that. So just keep in mind when you guys are buying barrels that there's a reason why these barrels cost what they cost. And I understand, and I very much understand that everybody's not made out of money. You guys don't want to spend a lot of money on your guns. I understand you guys go to the range once a year. Fine, great. But my guys that shoot a lot, my guys that shoot 10,000 rounds a year on average, don't cheap out on a barrel. Just save your money, spend the money on a good barrel. It will be night and day difference. You will easily be able to get 50,000 rounds, 40,000 rounds out of a Cold Hammer Forged Daniel Defense barrel. Same applies to Geisley. Criterion is different. They're not Cold Hammer Forged, but they do have chrome line barrels, and chrome line, it will still last as long. It's just the process on how it's made is not the same. So these are DD is chrome line, Cold Hammer Forged chrome line. Guys use Cold Hammer Forged chrome line. These are just they do sell chrome line and they do sell standard barrels. I don't have a chrome line barrel. I didn't want a chrome line barrel for a super long range gun simply because of the fact that although it is a misconception, and Geisley did a lot of testing on this, and they've shown that there is actually no difference between chrome lining on accuracy. I went with just an H-bar stainless steel profile. Stainless steel is notoriously more accurate from tests, but Geisley proved that wrong. So eventually, if I shoot out my Criterion, or if some point I want to move away from Criterion, I am going to be purchasing Geisley's 18-inch SPR, or I'll be purchasing their heavy profile 16, simply because of the fact that I'm not really interested in doing all this CQB stuff. It doesn't really faze me. I did it. It's nothing special. CQB has a 80% casualty rate when not done properly. So most of you that want to do this CQB stuff and have short little guns, fine, I get it, but you're probably gonna die if you ever try to attempt it by yourself. It's not fun. So my guys that want to go at the long range, shoot long range, depending on what you're shooting, 556, you could use a 14.5. Just understand that the velocity is not going to be there unless you're shooting NAS3 or shell shock technology stuff. Then you'll still get the velocity. You'll probably get 16-inch. You'll probably get 18-inch velocities out of a 14.5, which is still really good. They put a 14.5 out to about 750. But 16 is a sweet length. There's a reason why the Army or the military went to a Mark 12 Mod H, which was a 16-inch Mark 12, essentially. And in my testing, there is really very little difference between a 16-inch and a 20-inch barrel. I will say a 20-inch barrel is significantly heavier than a 16. And there's very little benefit to actually running a 20-inch. And although, yes, it does fling 62 grain at over 3,000 feet per second, it's not all ammo that comes out at 3,000 feet per second. I've notoriously shot 20-inch M855 at under 3,000. I think it averaged at like 29 something, and that's fine. That's 20 rounds. And that's still really, really high. And that's still really good. But don't think that 556, the longer the barrel length, the more velocity you get, because at some points is diminishing returns. 16 and 18 seem to be the sweetest spot. The difference between 16 and 18 inch, I think, was 50 to 80 feet per second, which is not anything crazy. Don't get me wrong, you'll definitely get a little bit more range out of that, but it's also heavier. That's why I stuck with 16. 16 sweet. I'm able to push 77 per grain projectiles, brass ones, in between 2,800 feet per second, depending on who I'm shooting. 69 grain is even higher, like 2,900 feet per second, which is still phenomenal. So there's that. If you guys are interested in buying some high quality barrels, I recommend these three brands, Criterion, Geisley, Daniel Defense, all superb. And also this company, BRT, make awesome barrels, and I will show you what they make.
So as you can see, they have a Cold Hammer Forge line, $325. 300 and you could find these on like off the web for like 325 as well. And then Geisley's, you can see that they're also up there 365. They used to be 325 thanks to inflation. They have a regular line too, and this is a very underrated company. They make phenomenal stuff. You can see that they just have a chrome line barrel. It's significantly cheaper. And they have a stainless steel line, and that's where they get up there. And these are for 6 arc too. Anybody interested in shooting 6 arc? Here you go. Awesome barrels. But yeah, that's all I got for you. I'm really trying to figure out how I'm going to do this AR series and how I'm going to give it to you guys, whether I'm just going to do upper parts, lower parts, and break it down that way, or just going at individual parts themselves. I'm sorry this is taking so long. I really like to do a pistol series as well. I understand that I'm like drip feeding you guys with this type of information, but I want to make the series good and understandable. And for my new guys that want to get into guns and build guns and are interested in doing this stuff, it's for you guys because I was at that point one time, and then here I am 20 years later doing this stuff. But as you're interested, BRT, Criterion. By the way, Criterion make regular length barrels, as you can see. They make 16, 18, all the way down to 13.9. They make 11.5. They make all barrel lengths. Awesome company. If you don't feel like spending the money on Cold Hammer Forge barrel, recommend Criterion. Super duper accurate barrels, sub MOA. My Criterion is around a 1/2 inch, 0.6. The tightest I had it was a 0.4. I think that was a fluke. I usually stay around 0.6, 0.7 MOA, which is amazing. Those are almost 1/2 inch groups on 100 yards. They make phenomenal stuff. Same thing, DD, super duper accurate. Geisley, also super duper accurate. MOA standards. Once you guys get under an inch of MOA, I mean, listen, we're talking minuscule accuracy with different bullets. And these are the 3 barrel brands I recommend, NBRT. But my long range guys, Criterion is amazing, guys, and so is Geisley. Can't go wrong. But that's that. That's all I got for you guys today. And maybe next week I'm going to maybe start the AR series. I'm not too sure yet. So you guys have a good night. See you later.